Welcome to Now Be You, a podcast and global community for ambitious female entrepreneurs. Here we discuss the ways we can empower you to meet us at the intersection of wellness and daily business practices. I'm your host, Leonora Be You, a psychologist, meditation guide, author, entrepreneur, and mentor with over a decade of experience helping thousands of women unlock their full potential. Welcome to Now Be You, the podcast where we dive deep with game changers who are rewriting the rules. Today, we are talking to the phenomenal Sharmadean Reid, beauty industry visionary, community builder, and unapologetic advocate for female empowerment. From founding Nails to leading the Stack World, a global community of mission-driven women, Sharmadean has consistently shattered ceilings and paved new paths for women everywhere. Get ready to be inspired by her journey, insights, and game-changing advice on building community, businesses, and life with purpose. Let's jump in. Okay. Sharmadean, so nice to have you here. Thank you so much for your precious time.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I was just amazed by your energy, and you are such an apologetic woman with your career, with your courage, with everything you are doing. We talked before. I just would like to ask you about purpose. How you would define purpose, and how purpose was redefining itself through your path in your life.
Yeah, so I would say that I was acting in an unpurposeful way during my 20s, but I think that is okay because you need to experiment, you need to test things out, you need to dabble in lots and lots of different things to feel what are the things that are working for me, and does this really put me in a flow state? I feel like when I defined my purpose, which is gender equity, it really made it clear to me the projects to work on and the ones to not work on. And whenever I ignored my purpose, because you think, well, I need money today, so let me just do this job. It didn't set my soul on fire, and sometimes those projects didn't work out that well because there was no alignment, right, in the project. So in my early 30s, I found my purpose, and it just meant that every single project I did was through the lens of that. And it's been a really interesting journey. And actually, as you get older, you narrow it down even more.
Exactly, indeed. And that makes more easy the game, to play the game, right?
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about the Stack World. So I do believe through your personal journey, you really kind of felt a calling to give this platform for more women to feel the purpose. Where is this purpose driving and guiding other women? How this platform it works and how it's supporting other businesswomen, leaders, women to go and really act in the world?
So the Stack World is a platform and a community, a global community for women who are mission driven. So, we have around 30% are founders, but many of the women are working. Some are full-time mothers or carers. And I think what unites us all is wanting to have an impact in the world in which we live. And I wouldn't necessarily say, it's a calling to teach. It's more that I learn by teaching. So if I want to learn something new, the best way for me to learn it is to think, how would I tell it to somebody else? So how would I take all of this complicated information and summarize it to tell a person who's never heard of that thing or, doesn't speak the language or whatever it is. And I think I just knew that's how my brain worked. Like, if I want to learn something, I need to think about how I'm going to communicate it. So with the Stack World, I do, we do Zoom conversations online. But what's really cool about it is that the community actually can host their own events. So anyone in the Stack community can host an event and do whatever they want.
Oh, that's amazing. So you give, actually, there is a possibility to have the power in your hands and feel and do and empower yourself by
Exactly. And again, making tools to support that. So we have how to build a community videos. We have videos, 10 steps to building community. So there's a lot of hundreds of videos on how to do all of these different things.
That's wonderful. I can't wait to deep dive into this. And I was going through your 10 step of reinventing yourself. And the third step is talking about the power of being yourself. This is actually where my heart lit up and expanded, just because I'm living this philosophy for so many years. And the whole story, it was constantly reminding me to be myself. How would you describe for a woman who is looking for that, but still doesn't know what is that?
So in the power of reinvention, or we sometimes say 10 steps to transforming your life, the third step of permission to be you is a way of allowing yourself to be the person that you always were. And that follows the second step, which is remembering what you loved as a child. I think that when I was a child, people used to say things that could be perceived as negative. You talk too much, which is ironic because now I get paid for talking, Exactly. So it's like all of these things that were inherent to us when we were a free child spirit, when we were playful, when we weren't getting paid to do it. Those are the things that I think as an adult we need to tap into to really understand the core of who we are. There will be a time in every child's life when you were free. Exactly. And maybe your conscious memory can't remember it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Maybe your conscious memory cannot remember it, so you need support to remember, hypnotherapy or meditation or silent retreats. But somewhere within there, you were born and you were free. So trying to understand the core of your psyche, the core of your personality, what you did when nobody was watching. These are the things that are helpful for you to understand where to go next.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful what you're saying. Just being me as a therapist and working with women for so many years, I just realized that most of the time we keen to focus on the traumas in the childhood, which is totally helpful. But that part is most of the time is forgotten.
It's so true. It's a very, very accurate point. In my healing journey, it was about uncovering a lot of trauma. The things that I would be repressing, that would be blocking my forward motion. Once I'd gotten over that process and understood that, that's when I started thinking about the pleasure and the joy and the freeness. When I was working on the power of reinvention, it was after I had done 10 years of healing work, almost to the day 10 years, actually. I was like emerged and it was like, I'm ready for the next thing now. Exactly. But what is the next thing? And, by doing these 10 steps, it really helped me understand, actually, I've always loved talking and interviewing and sharing and teaching and all these things. So why is that not the core of my day-to-day?
And you know what is beautiful also, today I saw you and it felt so expansive and so like home. And through you, I recognize myself. It's not about comparing. It's not about competing. It's just like, this is it. And what happens that women, most of the time, competing, and they, instead of being empowered, they feel disempowered. So I wanted to ask you another question. How is for you, or how was it for you, meantime, through your healing journeys and building all these empires and beautiful platforms? How did you feel in the field of competition?
In my book, I wrote a book, New Methods for Women. It's 49 essays on everything I did. And one of them is called Dealing with Competitors. And it is based on that exact principle that women compete with each other because we have been put into a scarcity mindset. So, people will tell you only 3 women managed to get into this university degree, or there's only one woman in the boardroom. So then you're like, well, if there's only one, we need to fight for it. And, you know, in this method, I talk through the ways that I had to learn to understand that actually, firstly, let me put myself into an abundant mindset. And then let me also understand that everybody has their own journey and you never know what it took for somebody to get there. Yeah. So trying to compete with someone when you will never know the full experience of what they've had to do is silly. You know, you might be looking at somebody, for example, who's incredibly thin. Yeah. And then you're like, but then I had to starve myself to do that. And I don't want to do that. So why would I be jealous of that person's body? Plus, genetically, they're different. Their metabolism is different, the way they were raised. There is just an infinite number of ways that we are different. So looking at what somebody else has got and being jealous of it just has no purpose. What I will say is that there's always a way to make these things positive. So actually, competition tells you are sort of on the right path because there are multiple people who also believe the same thing you do. It means there's a collective mindset and a collective intuition. And actually, I would be excited to be part of a collective intuition. Yeah. So I think there's always a way that you can be optimistic and hopeful about the things that you feel are depressing you or negative. Like, if you're jealous, you should see that as a signal for, I really like what they've done. How do I do it? How do I do something similar, you know?
Yeah, it's so true. And the true wisdom is always like standing in somebody else's shoes, feeling how someone else is feeling instead of talking from your perspective and never changing. And this is where you talk a lot about humbleness and sharing so many different opinions and different angles of perspectives. Yeah. And I was wondering, you are such a busy, active, loving woman. How do you deal with, let's say, burnout or the situations where sometimes you cannot stop or sometimes you can't give time for yourself? What is that you balance yourself, and how do you do it in daily life?
So burnout to me is more mental than physical. Since I was a small child, I went to a school where I had to do very long days. So I, on a physical level, can do a lot in a day. I can do a lot in a week. I can do a lot in a month, as you probably heard from the talk that we did earlier. But burnout for me represents a deep level of exhaustion and poor mental health because I'm out of alignment with what I should be doing. So the way that I deal with burnout is first a process of awareness. You have to recognize the signals and what your body, because it always is your body, it's never in your mind, what your body is telling you through listening to it and feeling it. So for me, you know, I was very sad. I'm not a sad person. I wasn't feeling great. My period was very heavy. All of, you know, a combination of the whole self was slowly falling apart. And normally, if I was just busy or tired, I could keep it together externally, while internally I might have been struggling. But burnout is when it crosses the threshold and it's external and internal at the same time. So, you know, I just made very drastic changes. I think burnout is not something you can recover from overnight. It's not like, oh, you know, sleep a little bit. I had to leave the town, you know, I left London, moved to a farm, and I slept for 1 month. I just, every day, no clock, no schedule, I had to just sleep. From there, I started to build my energy back. And then you know when the burnout has passed because you're back to, for me anyway, an idea generation. Things I want to achieve, things I want to complete, and that's really exciting for me.
What would you advise to other women who are right now facing this stage in their life? burnout, or not being confident enough to do something, comparing themselves to others, what would be your advice?
Well, I think all three of those things require different remedies. For burnout, I think environment is a big one. We are very lucky now to live in a world where many jobs, knowledge work jobs, can be done anywhere. You know, that is a privilege that our parents didn't have. It's not a privilege that everybody has, but there are ways to change your environment in very, small or drastic, whatever is accessible for you, that I think is the first step to burnout. And if it means withdrawing and going inward and resting and telling your friends, I can't come out with you because I need to recover, then so be it. I think confidence is really about self-image and about knowledge. You know, once you know how to do something, it builds your confidence around it. And even I have flashes of doubt, for things. I'll be about to start a new project and suddenly it will come in, but why do you think you can do that? And I'm like, don't be silly. And then I start reciting in my head a checklist of everything I've ever achieved. And then I'm like, oh, you've done this before, And I think these, each issue requires a different method, which is why I wrote my book, because there's 49 different methods in there for all of the things that I think I covered. In the book, there was just two things, that I forgot.
Can you share with us?
Sex. I didn't include anything on pleasure. I think because I've always lived with pleasure. From a very young age. So, it wasn't something that I thought about, but speaking to many of my friends, they don't enjoy pleasure or sex or anything. So I should have included that. And the second one was on equity, about having ownership in the companies we build, in the projects we work on. So I wrote another essay on equity, and sex isn't my content pillar, but, I think I'd like to embody it just by the way that I live.
Exactly.
Like the idea of pleasure and like not restricting your desires and your needs.
Indeed. And I heard that you are coming with a second book.
Yeah.
So are you putting the two things in your second book?
No, the equity thing will be in the second book for sure. It really is an exciting thing to be free from confidence, those issues, and think that I can now build a lasting foundation for my family and to build intergenerational wealth.
So sex is not included. You embodying it. That's what it is. Sometimes when we have it, we don't think about talk about it. Yeah, it's just not in the radar. Yeah, and I would like to talking about sex and relationship. Yeah, there is so much cliches and limiting beliefs around leader women who's powerful, successful, busy entrepreneur that, she's successful somewhere else, whereas money and power there and success is there, but not in the relationship. What would you like how would you describe that woman who is totally successful in all parts and realities, even though it doesn't look from outside?
I think it's again one of those things that is individual to the person. I have many, many friends who are incredibly successful that don't necessarily have the traumas that I have that have impacted their romantic relationships, but they might be impacting some other area in their life. So what I guess I'm trying to say is I do not equate successful, ambitious women with women who can't get a partner. What I think in my case was that because I had to be on my healing journey, it was from a period of 28 to 38, which is typically when you would find your partner. I instead was focusing on myself and I was focusing on my son. I think that I've dated many people all the time, but I don't date because I have to. I date someone who is worthy. And I think when I haven't found someone I'm interested in, I am completely happy being by myself. You know, I'm not someone who always has to have a partner for the sake of it, because to me, a partner is an addition to my life. It's not a completion to my life. And I think that right now we've had such a surge of support for women and in their confidence building. And I think it's really exciting for men to have access to similar things, to have access to emotional intelligence and have access to community. So I'm very supportive of the positive men's groups that are out there to effectively catch up to the things that we've had in terms of women's circles, etc., from the 1970s, you know, and beyond. So, yeah, it's just one of those things where I think about it. It doesn't drive me. It doesn't drive my decision making.
Yeah. And it is so true when you are talking about it. I so much resonating with the situation what I just told. I'm in a relationship just freshly 2 years ago, and my journey been for a long time, heal the story. And it's so beautiful when there are women out there standing and facing and acknowledging, okay, I have this journey and this is my healing journey. So what I'm wondering and witnessing in other women as the therapist and as the retreat leader, sometimes women say, why do I have that? Why it's so painful? Why it's not for you or for the other one? So we, again, sometimes falling in, or people like to fall in comparison. What is your healing story and why is I have to heal this? Why I'm not there where somebody else is?
Yeah, I think this is the dark side of the wellness industry, which is you're just transferring your neuroses to getting better. You can be addicted to healing just like you can be addicted to anything else.
Yeah.
And I think I've always been fascinated by addiction because I don't have it. I had codependency, that was my addiction. But I think of myself as very lucky to be someone that doesn't have the propensity, whatever the genetic propensity or the DNA, you know, whatever it is to addiction. But I also feel that I can become obsessed into rabbit holes of things. And when I was healing, I tried everything. It was a very fun time. I, you know, would do a cacao drinking ceremony, a hypnotherapy. I would go to a Hindu temple. I would go to a Catholic church. I would do anything because I was just constantly searching. But I think because I grew up in the church and I left church, I left this particular religion, but I didn't ever lose my faith in the world or my spiritual energy. I was very cognizant of not becoming attached to a guru or a pastor or a singular figure. And again, I think it goes back to that transferring of obsession and addiction from one thing to the next, and looking for answers from a singular source. I am a person who looks for a breadth of answers and merges them together to think what is right for me. You know, this is definitely a big part of my logical brain as well, which is thinking, like I said about the genetics. You know, we could be having the same inputs, but the black box of our bodies and our genes means the output is different, and we don't actually know what that part is. There are things we can do now. Every day we're knowing more and more, right? We can do, on a very basic level, we can track our sleep, but then we can do a blood test, whatever it is. But even the subconscious trauma that determines that I don't want to go down that path because actually somewhere in my history that path reminds me of something. We just don't know. So it's kind of pointless me telling you do this, do that, when really it might not work for you, you know. So I think I loved to try lots of things out. But once I kind of found my rhythm and my things, I then just do those things. But I think it's really important for people to have a toolbox for when they need to call on certain modalities. So, for example, with acupuncture, that was a big thing for me. I found it completely transformative. And when I first do it, In fact, like most things, I do a big electric shock. I do a lot. So when I first did acupuncture, it was once or twice a week for 3 months. Then it's almost like it's recalibrated me, and then I just need maintenance, you know. So when something is wrong with me now, I know to do a self-diagnostic, not diagnoses, diagnostic. And, you know, then I know, okay, so this happened before with this tightness in my neck. I need to see my acupuncturist, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that that's always been quite important for me. But the reason I can do that and have the suite of tools is because there are certain things in my natural disposition, i.e. not being more obsessive than addictive to very different things that allow me to do it. If I had a friend or a partner or a child with a more addictive personality, then I would give them different, their journey would be very different
Than yours.
than mine.
Exactly.
You know, with my son, I remember when I was pregnant, I was thinking, there's only 2 things I don't want. Please don't have an addictive personality. And secondly, don't join a cult.
Oh.
Which is kind of the same thing, right?
Totally.
And I remember, like, I don't know if this is even possible, but when he was a baby, I would give him a little bit of lots of different things so he could never get attached to one. So with milk, I would give him a bit of breast milk, a bit of formula. It would be hot and then it would be cold. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So at no point could he feel comfort and obsession and addiction, emotional attachment to one. Now, I don't know if this was good or bad, but it does mean that he's very relaxed, very calm, and he doesn't become emotionally distressed if he cannot get what he wants, you know, which I think was important for me. And
it is, because you are sharing with so many mothers right now. Such a good tip.
You know something, when I was a child, well, teenager, when I was 14, 15, I read a lot of child psychology books. I don't know why, but I did. So when I was pregnant, there was a lot of things that I applied to my son.
Just activated inside of you all the knowledge.
I was like, okay, so you know, positive reinforcement over negative reinforcement, all these different techniques. So I read a lot of old penguin psychology books, you know, like B.F. Skinner and what things that did work, did not work. And when I had a baby, I was like, okay, let me try this out.
When you mentioned that you was, as a mom with a newborn baby, you was really sharing this 50-50 with the father of your child, and you was daring not to wake up in the night when it was a turn of the father. It is so courageous and so powerful. I find it. I'm working with so many mothers and leading women, and as I don't have a child, everyone would come to this point, you are not a mother and you don't know what it is. And then suddenly I'm hearing you about that, and it's like, can you bring yourself back in that moment? How would you doubt about it, what you said to yourself? Okay.
I mean, I really think a lot about what you understand intellectually and what you respond to emotionally. And intellectually, I knew that it was very important for me to have my free time, to not resent the family or my role as a mother, and also for my son to bond with his father from birth. I knew that intellectually. But remember that the human body for a female is hardwired, literally programmed to take care of your child. You know, from the way that your breast milk responds when you cry, that you have this sixth sense. There are all of these incredible, like the female body is like a mystical, it's magical. And I think, wow, the programming and the signals is incredible. So it's very hard to break that. And you have to unlearn it, and you have to create new neural pathways for it, because otherwise it keeps us poor.
Absolutely.
Time poor, financially poor, everything. So I would, you know, when we did our 50-50 split, when we separated, we co-parented. And I remember that the first day he would go to his father, I'd be like, oh, relax, relief, I can tidy the house, I can do this. Second day, okay, you know, enjoying myself. Third day, I would be very upset. Where's my baby? I miss my son. I miss my son all the time. But then I was like, I'm not going to change it, so therefore I need to change my mindset. And then what I started to do was schedule all my friend meetings the day before, when my desire for him to return would be high. I'd keep myself busy.
So this is how you was managing helping yourself?
Emotionally.
No, exactly.
Because even though I can tell you, you know, we co-parented, I'm not going to pretend it wasn't emotionally difficult. Absolutely. But I knew it's the right thing to do. I would say now that my, you know, son and his father have such an incredible relationship, I can't truly say that he would choose one or the other, you know? Yeah. It's very equal. It's very, I think emotional equality is actually more powerful and important than just time equality. Like, does he feel as safe with both parents? Does he feel as loved? Does he feel, do you get what I mean? Are all of those things equal? Because he might be with me 5 days a week, but feel the equal love, and then that's still good, right? Absolutely. So equality looks different to different people, and I just think this was important for me, and this is how I designed it. It might not be important for somebody else. So therefore you design it however you want, you know?
That's loyalty to yourself and authenticity. You just totally stick with that, what is exactly in your system. And this is where we don't feel frustrated because somebody else told us, but we didn't feel like it. Yeah. And it's so fun.
You know, I think also as well, like I don't come from money. I come from a single parent family. I had to work and I had to make money. Had I been more financially stable, I probably would have been a full-time mom, if I'm honest. I still would have done fun stuff. I would have had a lot of dinner parties and, you know, I would have done the things you can fill your time with. But I just think this is how it turned out, so I'm not going to complain about it.
And if it would be now? The newborn...
If I was pregnant now? Well, I've got...
In this situation, success...
I've got lots of things I need to do. I feel like I'm in a really strong creative energy right now. And I've been thinking about it because I'm 40, so now that it gets, the window is smaller. But the other thing I think is important is there's more than one way to be a mother. Yeah. And you do not have to give birth to be a mother. You can be mother to all. Totally. I think I'm a mother to a lot of people. Projects, people. Yeah. So many things. Sometimes we put this, you know, I already said how incredible and mystical and magical a female body is. But sometimes we put a little bit too much importance on did you give birth? Yes. Because many of us have had mothers that weren't kind, you know, and that you couldn't choose. So actually, I would have no qualms about adopting or godparent, you know, all these other ways to be a mother. But I love a newborn baby. I know. I love that smell. I love them. They're so good.
But you know what is beautiful? I was never dreaming in my life having so many babies as I'm working with women. You know, women just come and they say, look, this is what happened after your retreat, before your retreat, during your retreat. And it's just, I feel a mother, a grandmother, and friend, and so many things. So it's like we can be rich in so many different ways.
And you know, like I love my free time. I'm pretty selfish. People find it quite funny that I will just leave something that I'm not interested in. I'm like, why not? It's one life that we have.
Absolutely. So going to the last question, as we say, being yourself is the whole journey in your life, getting to know your essence, who you truly are, beyond, you know, politics, personality, conditioning that you were talking today about. How would you describe your essence, your soul, your energy beyond your persona? Imagine you just forgot everything, who you are.
I think my essence is somebody who is a curious, infinite learner, someone who loves to study and experience and acquire newness, new things all the time. And then I am also someone who creates a playground within which to share information or to play. So when I think of what my essence is, it's definitely curiosity, community, and sharing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. You gave so many tips for so many women. I can't wait to read your book, looking for the second one.
Yes.
And I hope to see you very soon again back in Ibiza.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Now Be You podcast. If you liked our conversation, please subscribe the podcast and join our community where much more authentic conversations to come.